Revelations of the Julio Claudian dynasty.
Did you know that the Julio Claudian dynasty marked the beginning of the Roman Empire? This period transformed Rome from a republic into a prosperous and powerful empire. With legendary figures such as Julius Caesar and Augustus, the dynasty left an indelible mark on Roman and Western history. The end of the Roman Republic was a tumultuous time marked by civil wars and internal conflicts. Power struggles between factions weakened the Republic, creating a vacuum that future emperors would fill. This leadership crisis set the stage for the rise of the empire. Julius Caesar, with his charisma and military skills, played a crucial role in the transition to empire. His leadership and reforms created a solid foundation for his successors. Although his life ended abruptly, his legacy lived on, paving the way for the rise of Augustus. Family relationships between the Julius and Claudius were fundamental to dynastic power. Through strategic marriages and political alliances, the two families were united, consolidating their dominance. This network of family connections was key to maintaining the stability and continuity of the empire. Augustus, known as the first Roman emperor, consolidated his power after the death of Julius Caesar. His skillful political and military management allowed him to unify Rome under his leadership. He established a period of peace and prosperity known as the Pax Romana, ensuring the stability of the empire. Augustus implemented crucial reforms that transformed Roman government. He established a centralized administrative system and reorganized the military, ensuring stability and efficiency. His emphasis on restoring traditional values and promoting public morality consolidated his power and legitimacy, laying the foundation for a lasting empire. Tiberius, Augustus' successor, assumed power with ambivalence. Although he initially showed competence, his reign became controversial due to his growing distrust and paranoia. His decisions, often influenced by his advisor Sejanus, caused tensions and suspicions, affecting his reputation and relationship with the Senate. The relationship between Tiberius and the Senate was complex and tense. Tiberius, distrustful, delegated much of his power to Sejanus, which generated resentment among the senators. This estrangement and the political purges increased hostility, weakening the cohesion and cooperation necessary for effective government. Caligula, nephew of Tiberius, rose to power with promises of renewal. However, his behavior soon became erratic and despotic. His extravaganzas, such as naming his horse consul and proclaiming his own divinity, destabilized the empire and generated fear and bewilderment among his contemporaries. Caligula's financial management was disastrous. His excessive spending on spectacles and personal projects emptied the state coffers. To finance his whims, he imposed oppressive taxes and arbitrary confiscations, causing widespread discontent. This economic mismanagement contributed to his unpopularity and eventual assassination. Caligula, known for his extravagance and cruelty, was assassinated in 41 AD by a conspiracy that included members of the Praetorian Guard and the Senate. His murder was motivated by his tyrannical behavior and wastefulness, leaving a legacy of chaos and distrust in government. Claudius, despite being seen as an intellectual and a scholar, ascended to the throne unexpectedly following the assassination of Caligula. His rule was characterized by a focus on stability and administrative reform, which helped consolidate his power and restore confidence in the imperial leadership. During his reign, Claudius implemented important administrative reforms that modernized the structure of the Roman Empire. These reforms included the reorganization of the bureaucratic apparatus and the expansion of citizenship to new territories, which strengthened the cohesion of the empire and improved governmental efficiency. Claudius also made several significant territorial conquests, including the annexation of Britain. These expansions not only increased the empire's territory, but also demonstrated Claudius' military and strategic prowess, cementing his reputation as a competent and ambitious leader. Nero, the last emperor of the Julio Claudian dynasty, assumed power following the death of Claudius. His reign was marked by a focus on arts and culture, as well as controversial political decisions. Although initially promising, his rule ended in chaos and conspiracies that led to the collapse of the dynasty. Nero, known for his extravagant lifestyle, was a great patron of the arts. His government promoted theater, music, and poetry, but was also characterized by excesses and eccentricities that led the empire into an economic and social crisis. The Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD devastated much of the city. Although there are theories that blame Nero, it was likely an accident. The emperor took advantage of the rebuilding to erect monuments and renovate the urban infrastructure. Conspiracies against Nero were constant, fueled by his growing paranoia. The most famous was the Pisan conspiracy, which sought to overthrow him. The repression was brutal, increasing discontent and distrust towards his government. Nero's suicide in 68 AD marked the end of the Julio Claudian dynasty. Beset by rebellions and a lack of support, Nero chose to take his own life rather than be captured. His death left a power vacuum that triggered a series of civil wars. The Julio Claudian dynasty left a lasting impact on Roman history. Despite controversies, their reforms and policies contributed to the stability and expansion of the empire. Their legacy lived on in culture, architecture, and laws, influencing future generations. The cultural influence of the Julio Claudian dynasty left an indelible mark on Rome. Under their rule, the arts, literature, and architecture flourished. The promotion of public works and the construction of grandiose monuments not only beautified the city, but also consolidated the power and legacy of its rulers. In the religious sphere, the Julio Claudian dynasty promoted the cult of the emperor and the integration of foreign divinities, adapting religious practices to the political needs of the empire. This religious syncretism facilitated cohesion between the various cultures under Roman rule, strengthening the unity and stability of the empire. Architecture and public works reached unprecedented splendor during this dynasty. Buildings such as the Forum of Augustus and the Era Pacis symbolized the power and grandeur of Rome. These constructions not only improved urban infrastructure, but also served as tools of political propaganda. The foreign policy of the Julio Claudians was characterized by a combination of diplomacy and military conquests. They established treaties with neighboring peoples and expanded the borders of the empire, securing control over strategic regions. This expansion not only increased the available resources, but also consolidated Roman hegemony in the ancient world. The economy under the Julio Claudians experienced both growth and crisis. Augustus' efficient administration and fiscal reforms fostered prosperity, but the waste and extravagance of Caligula and Nero created economic strains. Despite these challenges, trade and agriculture remained fundamental pillars of the Roman economy. The Roman army under the Julio Claudians underwent significant changes. It became even more professional, ensuring the loyalty of the legions to the emperor. The reforms included improvements in the pay and conditions of the soldiers, thus strengthening their commitment. In addition, the borders of the empire were expanded, consolidating its power and stability. Roman law also evolved under the Julio Claudians. Legal reforms sought greater fairness and efficiency in the administration of justice. New laws were introduced and existing ones were improved. These reforms laid the groundwork for a more coherent legal system, influencing Western jurisprudence for centuries. The daily lives of Roman citizens were significantly impacted by the policies of this dynasty. Urban reforms improved the city's infrastructure, with new roads, aqueducts, and public buildings. These improvements raised the quality of life and fostered a greater sense of community and belonging among the inhabitants of Rome. The use of propaganda was a crucial tool for the Julio Claudians. Through coins, statues and monuments, images of the emperor and his achievements were promoted. Poetry and art also served to glorify their reigns, thus consolidating their power and legitimacy in the eyes of the Roman people. Women of the Julio Claudian dynasty played important roles and often influenced politics. Figures such as Livia, wife of Augustus, and Agrippina, mother of Nero, are notable examples. Despite their legal limitations, these women used their position to exert power and secure the future of their families. The Julio Claudian dynasty faced a number of opponents and rebels who challenged its authority. From senatorial conspiracies to military revolts, these internal challenges reflected the political and social tensions within the empire. However, through cunning and force, the emperors managed to maintain control and put down the insurrections. The Julio-Claudian relationship with slaves was complex and varied. While some emperors implemented more humane policies, others were unforgiving. Slaves played crucial roles in the economy and administration, and their treatment reflected the changing attitudes of the Roman elite towards this oppressed class. Art and literature flourished under the Julio-Claudians, who were great patrons of culture. Works by poets and sculptors reflected the splendor of the empire and the power of its rulers. This cultural patronage not only beautified Rome, but also consolidated the image of the dynasty. Death and succession were critical moments for the Julio-Claudians. The lack of a clear system of succession generated uncertainty and conflict. Each transition of power brought with it palace intrigues and struggles for the throne, affecting the stability of the empire and the continuity of the dynasty. The emperors of the Julio-Claudian dynasty were quickly mythologized. Their figures became entwined with legends and myths, becoming symbols of both greatness and decline. This mythologization helped to perpetuate their memory and influence historical perception, highlighting their virtues and concealing their flaws. The Julio-Claudian dynasty has been the subject of a number of modern interpretations. Some historians see it as a period of consolidation and reform, while others highlight its excesses and controversies. The assessment of this dynasty continues to evolve, reflecting new discoveries and scholarly perspectives. Comparing the Julio-Claudian dynasty with other historical dynasties reveals similarities and differences in the management of power and succession. While some dynasties achieved prolonged stability, others faced similar challenges in terms of intrigue and betrayal. These comparisons enrich our understanding of human governance. The history of the Julio-Claudian dynasty offers valuable lessons for today. From the importance of political stability to the dangers of absolute power, this Roman period reminds us of the need for balance and responsibility in leadership. Its successes and mistakes remain relevant today. Historical sources on the Julio-Claudian dynasty come from chroniclers such as Tacitus, Suetonius, and Dio Cassius. Their works, although sometimes biased, provide a detailed and critical view of the events and characters of this era. Analyzing these sources is essential to fully understanding its legacy. We invite you to subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts on the Julio-Claudian dynasty in the comments. Your participation enriches the conversation and helps us explore together the fascinating history of the Roman Empire. Join us on this historical journey.